I'm here with actor and director Justin Chon. Thank you
Yes.
so much for taking time to meet up with me.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, it's an exciting time for you. You actually have a film coming out. Before we talk about that, I want to talk a little bit about when you first decided you wanted to become an actor and what steps you took.
Yeah, I started acting around 2021.
Hmm.
I was going to USC at the time for business, and I did an internship in Silicon Valley, and it was during the internet bubble.
Hmm.
And even though it was progressive, and I still, even that was too suffocating for me, so I decided I didn't want to be a financial consultant. I didn't want to work for tech. I didn't want to do accounting, so started weighing my options, and then kind of fell into a 2-year Meisner program for acting, and then so I did both USC and the Meisner program at the same time, graduated at the same time, and while I was in school, I started doing. The actual path is I started filing headshots in an agent's room, agent's like mail room.
Uh huh.
So you basically what they want you to do is file the headshots in their folders, and then they pull them when they're submitting,
Right.
and then he would send me out for in exchange once in a while for like a small commercial,
Hmm.
and I did extra work to get my SAG card.
Hmm.
To get TAF lead, I was like the annoying guy next to the PA. Be like, hey man, do you have any vouchers? And it was I don't know, 16 years ago,
Hmm.
so it was a little different back then. Now I think it's harder now. I don't know, yeah. And so after that, I was like one of those annoying sort of gnats. Like I would crash auditions all the time. I would say I had an appointment when I didn't. I would just find out from a friend, and sometimes like they'll let you, because if they have a role that's like they're having trouble casting,
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Like casting directors will hate this because it messes up their
Their whole
system. Yeah, but I did whatever I could to try to get my foot in the door.
Well, it certainly worked out, obviously, for you.
Yeah, but it was a slow progression. It wasn't like this overnight thing. I started doing co-stars, one-liners, and then
Hmm.
you know.
And then you had a bigger arc on a show called Just Jordan, correct?
I was a series regular on this Nickelodeon show, but then I realized I was like, because I was auditioning for all these things, for like, I remember one time I had an audition for The Shield. I was trying to play a Mexican gangster. I don't even know how I got in that office, but I was like, this doesn't. There was a realization where I'm like, okay, let's think smart. Like, what do I have? Like, what do I have that makes me special? And what I realized is that I look younger
Hmm.
than most people. So here I am, like 22, and I realized, you know what, I can probably audition for like 15-year-olds, and I'll probably smoke them because I have proper training,
Right.
and so that's, I did a film for a Disney Channel film, and I did a few Disney Channel pilots.
Hmm.
Then I did this, I did one of those Disney Channel films. The exec producer brought me over to Nickelodeon, and I did that show, and that's where I got a lot of on-camera experience. And after that, it was just, I was just hustle, did a lot of indie films, and then,
And then that little known series of vampire books.
yeah,
you were
but
in.
before that, I thought I was made, because during Just Jordan, I had gotten this movie, and it was like I had to convince Nickelodeon to even let me do it. It was called Crossing Over,
Mhm.
and it was with Harrison Ford, Sean Penn, Ashley Judd, Jim Sturgis, Alice Eve, Cliff Curtis. It was just like Josh Gad. It was the Juggernaut, and it was maybe 6 storylines, and I was the lead of my storyline. It was about immigration.
Mhm.
I thought it was made. Come on, like with a cast like that.
Yeah.
It was Wayne Kramer was directing it. He just done The Cooler, and Alec Baldwin got nominated for an Academy Award. I just thought like it was a Weinstein project, and it went nowhere. It didn't come out for like 3-4 years, and it was crushing.
Yeah.
But out of Nickelodeon, it was during the writer's strike, and
Mhm.
I booked Twilight, and that was a nice bump. But, it was a cool experience to be kind of backseat because I wasn't driving the ship.
Right.
I was more like a spectator. I was a part of it, but I wasn't like the main thing,
Right,
attraction.
right.
I was just ancillary.
Mhm.
So I got to experience that and kind of see what that was like, but not have the so much of that whirlwind
Right,
technique.
going through, yeah.
Yeah, so it kind of made me recenter and think about what I wanted to do with my career, and so I did a lot of indies and focused more on film rather than television at the time. And that's what I've done till now. But then I know you want to talk about it later, but I'm starting to get
No,
back
absolutely. Actually, start talking about your directing. I know on
Yeah.
top of your acting, this is your second film that you're directing.
Yeah.
I know you're very proud of your first film, so please talk about that.
Yeah, I'm still proud of the first film.
Yeah.
And if I gained lots of skills from that film that I used to make the second film, and it was a practice run. Not a practice run. It's still like I directed the thing.
Right.
And I had so much fun making that. But it was like, what do I want to make? Like, what are the parts that I would like to be in, or I would like to see out in the world, or the projects that aren't being made? And that's sort of my philosophy. Is those are projects I want to write and direct. So Man Up was more. It was about basically two stoner kids who live in Hawaii, and one gets a girl pregnant, and it's like, well, the other one thinks, because he's had so many shitty dads in life, that he's convinced he can help him prepare to be a great dad, because he knows what not to do.
Right.
But it was like the movie I made for my 12-year-old self, and that's a film that I had to make.
Yeah.
And I did it. And Gook was, building off of that. Like, my family got looted during the riots, and I wrote. Over the last, decade, I've auditioned for a few LA Riots films, and none of them got made. But finally, I heard one was gonna get made, and I didn't feel like it was authentic or even represented the Korean experience very at all. So, having been through it and feeling I have the skills to tell the story, I thought it was important that I spearhead that.
So talk a little bit about your character of Eli and basic premise of the story.
Basically, Eli is he's running a women's shoe store with his younger brother Daniel, and he's just trying to keep it together. They're living month to month on the rent on the store and their mortgage, and they're just trying to make ends meet. They're Korean American, and it all happens during the first day of the LA riots. The Rodney King verdict is announced, and but mostly the film is about his friendship with a neighborhood 11-year-old African American girl, and their families have a sordid past, but the LA riots is more of a backdrop in the social climate at the time, and allows for the tension to be present, but it's really a film about friendship between the two of them, and it's rides the line between comedy and drama. There's a lot of gut-wrenching moments, but there's also a lot of levity to it.
How did you come up with the title? I know I'd seen an earlier interview that you did, and seeing how it's uncomfortable for people who are not of Korean descent.
And that's
And I have to be honest, it's uncomfortable for me to even say the word as the title, because in my head it's a derogatory thing and a racial slur to me.
Sure. And that's sort of the point, is people feel uncomfortable, but it's my sort of my sort of, I don't know what you call it, my sort of I'm pointing to the fact that it is uncomfortable, but why is it uncomfortable?
Right.
It is a derogatory term, but who are the people that created that term?
Right.
Because it's also an opportunity to educate about something that people don't know about. Gook is actually a Korean word for a country, and during the Korean War, and it carried over to the Vietnam War, GIs would come and they would say "미국 사람," saying "미국," and that means American person.
Right.
"미국" directly translated means beautiful country, and that's America.
Right.
And the reason that, for some reason, that term has become, taking our word. It's not even like
It's completely out of context.
It's like not a word that was just came out of thin air. It's an actual word in another language, and you're taking that word and making it at least like people used to call people Charlie, like during the Vietnam War, or like
Yeah.
or like that's like you're taking your own language, but this is like you're taking someone else's language and making that word into racial slur. And it's an opportunity to talk about it. And in the film, in a very pivotal moment, he explains it. She asks, "What does that word mean?" Because it's spray painted on the, some tagger spray painted on the hood of a car. And he has a choice there. Does he perpetuate the acknowledgement of that word, or does he use that opportunity to? She's 11. He has a choice to reaffirm that definition, or he has a choice to tell her the literal definition.
Right.
And when you watch a film, you realize that he's going to go the other way. And most people don't really pick that up, but that's sort of the idea behind it.
And now we talked about this as your second directorial film. What do you find most challenging as a director, or do you feel you come at it from an even better understanding because you're an actor, so that probably helps in the way you shape things or the way you treat people? Or
I think as an actor, I have better insight into how to talk to actors. But even that, I'll tell you, it's not as obvious as you think, because it was hard for me to figure out how to talk to actors, and I thought I knew. I thought we could just talk about like actors, but that's not how you direct. I mean, directing is a whole different thing. But I have at least the psychology behind how I think an actor's mind works, so I can kind of. But directing actors, it's not just about like relating with them, or really it's about like how do you get the performance that you need, and of course like it needs to be a collaboration and synergistic relationship, but it's also at the end of the day your vision as a director. So how do you get that performance? And they'll have an idea. How do you marry the two?
Right.
And there's a different way to talk to actors than it is, working on a scene together in class. So that's something I had to really figure out. But as a director, there's many things that I lack still, and I'm still learning.
Yeah.
Like technical stuff, like like how to tell a story with a camera. This is just a different skill. So those are things that I really put a lot of consideration into when I was making Gook, and like it's only a few locations, so I wanted the camera not to be static, and it's constantly I use a lot of moving masters, and telling a story in black and white is a different way to tell a story through contrast and lighting rather than through color palette. It's just all directing stuff.
Yeah.
But like acting wise, it was cool because in one sense I didn't really want to act in it. I just wanted to direct, but it just our budget was so low that it was shorthand. But also being able to doing all the rehearsals with the actors, we had already worked everything out, and they weren't someone wasn't gonna step in and take my space. It was they were gonna act with me, so they were already comfortable. So when we stepped on set, we were already ready to fly.
Now the film is going to be premiering first in LA, right? And then it'll be in major cities a week or so later.
1 week later, so it'll premiere August 18th at the ArcLight and LA Live in LA, and then the week after, August 25th, it'll go a little wider, and locally here it'll be at Union Square Regals.
And that's here in New York City.
Yeah.
And now you also have a project for ABC that's going to be bowing mid-season, I guess, beginning of 2018, called Deception. What can you tease about that and your character?
Yeah, it's a really fun project. It's about an illusionist that uses his skills. He's kind of, something has happened in his career that causes him not to be able to continue to do magic and illusion. So he uses those skills hand in hand with the FBI to catch criminals and deceive them. Hence deception.
Yeah. Very good title then.
Yeah. And my character, I play Jordan, and I'm from Chicago, and I'm a really great pickpocket, and I'm really good at coin tricks and intricate coin tricks. But I'm like, I know how to make things happen. Everybody has a skill, and I'm part of the magic team, obviously, the illusion team. My skill is like I can set up huge LCD screens and make people pop out of them and stuff like that.
Very
So
cool.
that's my function in the story, and you know, I have like this really funny relationship with this character named Gunter,
Hmm.
and that's played by Vinnie Jones.
Okay.
So that would be really fun. You know,
That's
and
great.
during the pilot we had a blast.
Uh, Got a lot of big stuff coming up for you. That's exciting. How do you keep yourself grounded and calm and not get so overworked and so nervous about reviews for Gook and putting your extra pressure on yourself for
Yeah.
the new show?
I guess focusing on things that I have control over.
Hmm.
I don't have control over how people take my film. It's I did what I did, and
Hmm.
it came from a genuine place and an authentic place. So that's my art, and not everybody has to love my art, but I hope people get something out of it.
Hmm.
But things I can control tend to help me just focus on things that I have power over. So with the pilot, like my job is to be on set every day and know my lines and have worked on things and be a team player, and in terms of writing and directing, like I just chip away at it, and there's only so much you can do in a day, so I just try to work at it every day. And acting wise, like I still take classes constantly
Hmm.
because I'm not close to being where not De Niro, but I aspire to
Yeah.
be one day. So continue to train, and that gives me the peace of mind that at least I'm doing my part, not just sitting around thinking that I'm going to naturally, through osmosis, get better at acting.
Right.
So
Well, the
that's-
film won an audience award at Sundance, so
Yeah.
if people at Sundance liked it, it'd probably translate over really well. So I wouldn't be too worried about that.
I hope so.
Looking forward to seeing the film and to seeing the show come out in
Thank you.
January, Deception. So
Absolutely.
thank you so much for taking time to meet up with me. It's been a real pleasure.
Yeah. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Justin.
Yeah.